persecute me. Yes, that was today's scripture, and it's now time for Shakeup. Shakeup is an interactive program. If you wish to take part, you can call us at 457-9997. If you're calling from a digital phone, you can reach us via 532-9997. If you want to reach us via WhatsApp, the number is 457-9997. Today's Shakeup host will be Augustine Ferdinand, and now I turn you over to Mr. Ferdinand.
Thank you very much. Good morning to you and morning to the listeners of WEFM, those of you who are joining us via Garifuna Radio. I first of all want to apologize for the late start. On my way, I met, looked as if it was CWSO team actually. They were more or less repairing a part of the road where they did their line, the pipeline across the road. So I had to wait a while until they allowed me to pass through. But nonetheless, we are here. And remember the number to call and interact, 457-9997. That's 457-9997 to get interactive with the program. I know yesterday, I think it was in the comment section, someone asked a question pertaining to the distribution of bank cards for persons receiving income support through the Ministry of Agriculture, of course, the Ministry of Finances involved, but basically the farmers and fisher folk and the like. So the dates for the distribution of the bank cards to farmers and farm workers, fisher folks, including the boat owner and the crew, will start from today. I think in North Central Windward, at the Georgetown Revenue Office from 10 o'clock this morning to 3 in the afternoon. Tomorrow, those of you who are listening via Garifuna Radio, or those of you who are listening who have a family member or friend that you know has received income support before, the distribution of bank card will be done in North Windward at the Biotechnical Center at Orange Hill. And again, starting at 10 o'clock and go up to 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Thursday, distribution for bank cards will be made in South Central Windward at the Santa Ceylon and Resource Center, also from 10 to 3. And this Friday, distribution of bank cards will be done in South Windward and Maraqua. For farmers and fisher folk, predominantly mainly farmers around that area, at the Dumbarton Agricultural Station. So for this week, that's the card distribution. Again, this is continued income support. It's called income support because it's supporting your income that you may have received before when your business was more or less optimal. So you can't expect to get the income that you received before you made before. This is just to support your income. And this is as a result of the impact of Hurricane Beryl. And again, you have over 6,000 plus persons who qualify for this level of income support. Of course, for those of you who may say, well, 49 and hear about me, including those of you in North Leeward and Central Leeward and the like, this will continue next week. So I think the 13th, which is Monday, will be for North Leeward. Tuesday next week for those in Central Leeward. Wednesday next week, South Leeward. You have Thursday next week, Eastern George. Friday next week, Western George, and then the week after, you have the Kingstown zones, and those in the Grenadines. So you're not left out. I just thought it best to make mention of those who will be receiving starting from today. And again, today, distribution will be made to farmers, fisherfolk, farm workers, and the like in from North Central Greenwood at the Georgetown Revenue Office, going on all now. And again, you will, of course, work with ID to make sure that they qualify, and that ID can be your passport, your national ID, well, I call it the voter's ID, or your farmer's ID, either one of them, to collect the bank card. Now, additionally to that, I remember it was yesterday where I made mention of persons who receive the public assistance. So you have different levels of support from the government, and that is continuing. As much as you hear out there some persons saying that the government not helping those in need, this support continues. I just want to remind persons that while the government is distributing these cards for persons who are adversely affected as a result of the impact of Hurricane Beryl, in Grenada, they actually yet to do that. They in late November, they actually started the process of registering persons, more or less, or to see who may be qualified to receive income support. So I just want to make mention of that, because I know sometimes I hear the talk that, boy, look at what Grenada is doing and the like. But of course, they have their own agenda in terms of the policy and what they may prioritize. The government here in St. Vincent and Grenadines, the Prime Minister always have a saying, walking on chugam. So you have projects ongoing, but also you have home repair and distribution of cards, plus the distribution of food, many things at once. So these levels of support, they continue, and as I made mention yesterday as well, with the government for this year, and I know many of you coming into the year, you may have certain things that you would like to see, whether in your own personal life or from the government, to be done this year. But one of the things the government will be ramping up for sure this year is the construction of those homes. And I'm talking about the homes that are level 3 and level 4. Those homes that you have to rebuild totally. Obviously, the government so far has repaired over 2,200 homes in this country, and that's the level 1 and level 2. And that's very significant, but we still have more to be done. And therefore, because of that exercise, the government is exploring other options. And I made mention yesterday, and I will continue to make mention of it, because I know persons may miss it yesterday, and they join into the for the first time since the program resumed. So the government is exploring options um, with prefabricated homes. We did some at Orange Hill. The homes that we built on lot size of 4,000 square feet on average to those persons or families that were adversely affected as a result of the eruption of last Fair volcano. And you may recall that not only did the government rebuild those homes totally, but the government also retrofitted those homes and furnished them with furniture and appliances. Of course, starting last year, November, I know Nemo started the distribution process with appliances to families in Union Island, talking about fridge and that sort of thing. Yes. So the government is looking to ramp up the construction of homes, those adversely affected, in using prefabricated homes. But very importantly, because I know some process in terms of Grenada, I think some process look at the homes and were wondering whether they were hurricane proof, which is, a legitimate, thing to ask given what occurred previously. And I wanted to know that not only will these homes be prefabricated, but the government want to ensure that they will also be hurricane proof. Of course, when you're talking about hurricane proof, at the end of the day, you will look at a certain level or category of the hurricane that these homes will be able to withstand. But the nature sometimes has a way of doing things. So at least the government is looking at that level and making sure that they can withstand hurricane to a certain extent. And therefore, this will help in meeting, because they have about 6,000 homes that must be repaired. And also there are those that have to be rebuilt. And therefore, the government is exploring options, partners in Mexico and even Taiwan to see how we can ramp up the building of and repair of those homes. Obviously, recently in December, through the Gomalimbo group, the government saw the equipment donated by that group, valued about 10, about 5, they're about £1 million, which will help in ramping up the repair work that has to be done. And I know, sometimes you hear a lot of things, but the Gombolimbo group is working alongside the government. They're partners, and I see some comments saying, well, if it isn't for this or that group, nothing will be done in Southern Grenadines. I want to say this now, that both the government of St. Vincent and the Grenadines and Gombolimbo group with Mr. Ways, they're working together. Of course, the government will identify with help with the identification of the homes and the like. And Mr. Ways and his group will provide certain levels of assistance. This is what they call a public-private sector partnership. Is nothing new. There's a model for it already. And therefore, both are working hand in hand for the benefit of the people in the Southern Grenadines. And sometimes when I see some persons say certain things like, If it ain't for this group, nothing will be done. That is far from the truth. It reminded me of the situation with the construction of the Kanawan secondary school, and some persons say, well, oh, the government have nothing to do with that. Again, public-private sector partnership, because the whole idea is, I mean, you have a lot of wealthy folks who reside in the Grenadines, and they have their own businesses as well. And for example, Mr. Waste, this is nothing new to him. I mean, there are many instances where he doesn't have to be called to basically assist. But you have this social responsibility, and there are those who may be in a better position who would be able to help, and that's what is being done. And therefore, the partnership between the state and these private individuals are for the benefit of the people. And when I see some persons try to peddle politics into it, I even heard the leader of the opposition this morning on Hot 97, basically trying to suggest that even if it isn't for Mr. Waste, not much will be done. And again, that is far from the truth. But that is what happens when you try to peddle politics into this recovery and rebuilding effort and providing relief. And, the opposition leader is shameless, because there he was on earlier this morning, Hot 97, more or less saying, well, oh, if it isn't for this group, and the government needs to do more, and we're far away from recovery, and what are they doing with the money? This is the same man, him and his party, who pledged since July last year $100,000 in assistance, bursary assistance to students affected by burial in the Grenadines. And today's January 7th, and up to now, they didn't even have the respect to at least say something to the folks in the Grenadines by saying, well, maybe our donation fell short, and instead of 100,000, we could only give 20,000 or 10,000. Nothing whatsoever, not a word. But yet they had a dinner recently last month, $200 and something per individual. Man, watching me like if I talk at something. This is a serious thing. 200 and something $1,000. I kid you not. In terms of you getting the ability to be part of what I call the gala dinner. And still nothing. December gone, the money is collected, nothing. And even further, is the same political party that said they'll get material assistance to folks in the southern Grenadines, but he's the man questioning the government who is actually doing something. And I tell you this, shameless individual. But again, like I said yesterday, this is the year 2025. And boss is already talking, it's an election year. And I want to speak about this. I think we have a call coming in. We have a call coming in. Let's take the call. Good morning, call. Welcome to Shakeup.
Hello, good morning.
Yes.
How you doing?
Good morning, Director. Good morning. Happy New Year to you, man.
Yeah, man. Happy New Year to you and to all the people of St. Vincent and the Grenadines.
Yes.
Particularly the people of the Grenadines, and you ain't go hold it against.
No, I won't at all. I understand that.
Grenadines and the people of the Southern Grenadines. So you have to take that in good faith.
Yes.
I this morning listened to the leader of the opposition, and And one of the things with politics is that sometimes the politics ought to transcend the boundaries of the partisanship.
Correct.
And if it doesn't, then it defeats the purpose. Because despite the fact that there would be different political parties, I am firmly of the view that everybody would like to see the overall benefit and progress of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. I listened to the leader of the opposition, very very graphic in trying to describe the situation in the Southern Grenadines, which we know is a challenging one. There are no two ways about it, and I have said to the people of the Southern Grenadines at a public consultation that this is not an easy fix. It is not going to be fixed by the end of the year because it is not humanly or and practically possible. Let us not fool ourselves. It will take some time for the restoration of all the homes and for the general bounce back of the economy. Let us not live in a dream world. What has been pushed by the opposition is that the progress is too slow. Now, let me tell you this, Ferdinand. To replace a roof is not an easy exercise. It is not like replacing a window. And when you are replacing people's house roof, you expect to replace it better than it was before.
Correct.
In many instances, some of these houses just had a little plate on the wall. And in other words, there were serious flaws in the construction. The Ministry of Housing and the government has come up with the idea that certainly we got to lift the level of construction, and there ought to be ring beams and rafters placed in the ring beams. These are the stipulations and the criteria. So you can't just get up in 2 days and replace a house roof. That ain't gonna happen. It is not going to happen. And to give the impression that nothing is happening in Southern Grenadines, that's borders on the ridiculous.
Yep.
In fact, the Grenadines, in the Southern Grenadines, particularly in Union Island, we've had a replacement of close to 80 house roof. Total, that's total we're talking about. The Gombolimbo Group, who is acting in partnership with the government of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, has done significant work in the repairs of government buildings. They have done, for instance, the Stephanie Brown Primary School. They have done the hospital. They have done the doctor's quarters, and they've done the clinic in Ashton, and currently they've just finished the community kitchen in Ashton. Now, we commend the work that they are doing because it's significant help.
Yes.
And what it does is that it relieves the pressure on the public purse, right? But people must come to the understanding that nothing could be exercised and done by any entity, whether they be an international entity, some local entity, some philanthropist, without the support and without the approval of the government of St. Vincent and the Grenadines.
Correct.
And people must also come to the understanding that there's been significant collaboration, because what has taken place is that the Gombolimbo Group, is stationed at what we call the EOC, the Emergency Operations Center in Union, and working along in conjunction with certain persons who have been appointed by the cabinet of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, a core committee. I need to call the names of these individuals, and also with a coordinator who is in the name of Dr. Augustine Ferdinand. So there's total collaboration. You're living in the real world, and in the real world sometimes there will be differences and there will be little minor hitches here and there. In the coordination and the approach to dealing with certain matters. But that's trivia. The important thing is the restoration of the homes of the people in Union Island. It is for a most challenging exercise. And I say here that Prime Minister Ralph Gonsalves is brave and bold in terms of what was recommended. In terms of the repair of so many houses and that sort of thing. Now, I have made it and said it quite clear publicly that there are persons who might be able to help themselves, and persons who could help themselves ought to make an attempt to help themselves, because it's in truth and in fact, it is not really the obligation of the state to repair your homes and that sort of thing.
Correct.
But because the government is what it is, and the government has a particular policy, and the government is adhering to that policy in terms of the assistance to its citizens. And so the government has gone to the extent to facilitate the repair of houses, particularly those who are vulnerable. And we're talking about the elderly. There are many persons who are unemployed. There are persons who have some little structures. There are persons who have little structures who are blown away completely and all that sort of thing. Now, the opposition wants to paint a picture, and there has been a video that has been circulating over the past couple of days done by Kenton Chance on the invitation of Terence Olivier. Of course, if it's politics we're talking, then it's politics we're talking. You understand? Because that is what it is. It is a straight case of the politics. And if Terence Olivier invite Kenton Chance down to Union Island, what do you expect? All the persons who were interviewed are persons who are normally sympathetic to the NDP. I ain't hiding this. When you come here to put no sugar coat in the mouth. And what do you expect coming from persons like that? It's an orchestrated attempt. And the government ought to step up its public relations apparatus, and to point out to the general public the work that has been done. And the work that has been done by the administration has been extremely significant. There are persons who have said to me they don't see how government could sustain this. The amount of persons that we have on mainland St. Vincent who are in guest houses and other forms of accommodation, private accommodation and things of that nature, who have been receiving income support, who have been receiving food, who have been receiving transportation provided for their children. I just came from Annesville. I just came from the school, the Mary Hutchinson Primary School and the Union Island Secondary School in Annesville, and saw the amount of buses bringing in children and so on and things. When persons from the mainland had to find their own transportation, we're coming from Sandy Bay, you got to pay your transportation for your child to reach down to go to grammar school, that is some school in Kingston. And this is being provided for the people of the Southern Grenadines. I somehow kind of feel like this morning when I heard that enough is not being done. They got to be joking. They got to be joking. In fact, Governor Friday, I think, is extremely happy that this didn't happen when he is Prime Minister and is under his watch. Because here what happened. I believe it's only one could handle this particular type of situation and the manner in which it was done. Of course, you will have little shortcomings.
In any emergency, you'll have the hiccups.
People,
yes.
You will have people who saying that here what my name ain't come down, my name ain't appear and I register, and and all these little things. These can be easily managed and rectified. But overall, my brother, watch me. The cost of transportation to and from the Grenadines on the ferry and on the two ferries before Gemstar went down is phenomenal, taking materials and people and personnel up and down here what's happening. So much so that I believe that it's being abused. People who travel on the ferry, some just go down there for sightseeing. As a matter of fact, some people from the Grenadines going up and down, they're going down in the morning, coming back up in the evening.
Yes.
And they in shelters here on mainland St. Vincent. When I say shelters, because nobody really in any public shelters, but they're in accommodations in guest houses and hotels and so on. I know persons whom they are in guest houses and their meals are being paid for. They ain't paying no bill. Persons who in private homes and they pay no electricity, no gas, no nothing. There's a phenomenon. And I don't see how in the name of heaven that anybody could rightfully indicate that the government has not played an extremely proactive role in this recovery process.
Shameless.
The government is now beginning on the 13th of the 13th of January. We expect to start the reconstruction of some homes for persons who have their homes have been totally destroyed. In other words, level 4 destruction. I mean, I am like, is Dr. Friday for real? Of course, you know the station. You know the station is blah 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 blah, and the government ain't really want to help the people of the Southern Grenadines because they don't vote for them. Stupidness, absolute nonsense. Because when I look around and I see the houses that have been repaired, and some of the guys say but the persons and them would support me. Most of them are no place. They're still under the tarpaulin. Most of them are here. So I ain't get that. And if it's politics they want to talk and politics they want to play, because Terence Olivier taking Kenton Chance down to Union Island is a clear indication of the politics. Obviously, everybody know Kenton Chance leanings. Everybody know that Terence Olivier is the representative, but he's the NDP's candidate who has won the seat. So they come with a particular agenda, and all the people they interview is one and the same. I don't have to hide to say this thing. So what do you expect? You know, but he himself indicated that it cost him about $80,000 to cover back his house, to do his repairs, and he ain't finished yet. No, my dear brother, and to the people of this country, if one man could indicate that it cost him $80,000 so far to deal with his house,
and he's
not yet finished. So tell me how the state is going to be able to shoulder this burden of 1,300 houses. But then one thing about it is that, and that would be so dishonest, when he indicated, well, he got some assistance from the core committee to augment what he bought. He didn't say how much. He didn't say that. He ain't come out explicitly to say that he has been ably supported by the government with the materials that he using on his house. That's to tell you how the dishonest. I am the director of Grenadines Affairs. And you know what they say? That my house roof is one of the first ones to go on. Of course. Because I didn't hesitate, you know. I didn't wait on the state. I went into my little hungry coffers now. You understand? And found that it was necessary for me, because I have a close board ceiling, lost all my galvanized, just like everybody else, but I wanted to protect the plywood and to protect it from getting further damage, and went by East Caribbean Metals and purchased my galvanized, and not a single screw or a nail from the government of St. Vincent and Grenadines went into the repair of my home. Why cover it back? But when I hear, and then the thing about it, he also indicated that the insurance money was so small. Well, that's another story, because there are many persons who have received monies from the insurance but waiting on the state still, you know. We can't face this thing and be realistic about what is happening.
Yes.
They received monies from the state, from the insurance companies, but they're waiting on the government because of the nature of this government. And when people talk about caring, you could talk about caring with this administration. Currently, I have a business place that has been covered by the state. I agree, and I'm pointing that out because I know them other like small talk and commerce and little macrame man business. The state covered my place to provide people with food, with meals. Approximately 600 meals per day coming from that particular place. Government ain't paying me nothing. This is going in to the 5th month. Government ain't paying me nothing. My entire place is being used for the general public and the general community. But that's not for me to beat my chest. Because I'm not in that. I am just happy that I had a place that could be used for the purposes of assisting the persons on Union Island with meals. Now, we have to be really serious about this, and I expect that our public service, our public relations entities, for instance, API and what have you, needs to show the work that is being done in the Southern Grenadines, interview the persons who have been significantly helped in this critical period. And you know what? I see the Prime Minister of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Dr. Gonzalez, and you done much more than the representative. I don't know how many times the leader of the opposition went down to the Southern Grenadines. He said he went down before Christmas. As a matter of fact, after Beryl hit, he was in Canada. He left and went to Canada for vacation or whatever have you. And then you're talking about care? Care what? Care what? And one would say, for instance, that you don't have to be on the ground in order to get things done and in order for things to happen and all of that kind of thing. Yeah, there's a classic example sometimes that, let me tell you something, being the first night that I spent in Union Island following Beryl and so on and thing, I got a little generator and put it on and full up in a little corner and watch me during the course of the night the generator come out. You understand? And it's pure hell, We understand what is happening with the people. But this is not the fault of the state. It's not the fault of the government. It is an act of God. And watch me, and certain insurance companies are using this to the hilt, Some saying that your policy didn't include hurricanes.
Yes.
It didn't include act of God. They're using every possible means. And I believe that in the near future, that there needs to be a symposium and there needs to be public education with relation to the question of insurance. You know what I mean? And how, because people must understand and know fully well what insurance is and what their rights are and what their claims should be, because there has been some injustice, But then again, Ferdinand, I don't want to hog up your program and take too long. But I know that this administration has acted in a particular manner that one cannot fault. And here what is happening. If, thank God, that according to Pierre, when Pierre Gamble said that he gone in peace, knowing fully well that this country is in the hands of Ras Gonzalez. Well, I am extremely happy that following Beryl, that Ras Gonzalez was Prime Minister, because I have been part and parcel of the national emergency meetings that took place under PM and saw the level of and care and the approach with relation to the people of the Grenadines.
Yep.
And I think that significant work has to be done. And if they're playing the PR card, Ferdinand, then we go up it.
Yep.
We go up this game and we got to show to the general public what work the government has been doing and the cost to the administration, you understand, in terms of how much money has been spent, and still being spent, with relation to this regard.
Because meals are still provided and for transportation.
Well, don't talk about transportation. It's transportation, it's meals, it's all kind of things, but not only that. The question of building materials, and building materials are extremely expensive. And of course, there are those who want to play the card because they never want to accept, and particularly in the Grenadines, they never want to accept the role of the Unity Labour Party government and the ULP administration in their development.
But Comrade Snack, just following from all, I remember you said 80 homes are repaired, but I was having a conversation with someone yesterday, and I think that doesn't include the homes that were given materials who did self-care.
No.
Right.
That I talking about. These were done. These were done specifically by
The contractors.
by the government in
Right.
terms of total covering,
Yes.
total construction. The delivery of material is a horse of a different color because
Yes.
there have been so many persons. And watch me right now. I don't have the figures at hand to
I
give
know.
to you in
I
terms
know.
of the amount of persons
I know.
who have received materials, building materials for the restoration of their homes. And that in its case sometimes is probably double the amount of persons
Yes.
whose homes have been repaired because the repair of homes, that takes a particular while and so on and thing, and that sort of thing. But
Yes.
I heard them on radio this morning. Oh, the government they want to, if they wanted to, they could have bring in hundreds of people. Well, you put bring in hundreds of people and place them where it's a challenge to get somewhere for persons from the state entity to overnight.
Yes.
That's how challenging it is to get somebody from the state entity to overnight for doing public service. It's challenging even to get somewhere for them. I think these people don't understand the magnitude of this thing, And man on radio this morning, blah 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 blah, and talking about if they want, they could bring in hundreds of people and place them where. You have so much factors to deal with, and these factors include not only accommodation, but the question of there's so many things, When you look at toilet facilities on this small island, that's what I'm saying. Ferdinand, I might probably have to take a little program a day from here next week. You might have to give me a little slot. Let me sit down and speak to the people of St. Vincent and the Grenadines on this process and the challenges that we face under this. Some people don't understand what is happening. They really don't.
Yep.
They really don't. And the opposition playing the politics.
Yep. Evidently.
They play the politics.
Evidently.
They play the politics because they believe that this will have something to do with the overall, national result at whenever the bell is rung. But watch me. But they're fooling themselves, because here it is happening. Even in the southern Grenadines, some of the people who are so anti-government have come to the realization of the effort that has been made by this administration to facilitate their recovery. And people are not stupid.
Correct.
People are not stupid, So, my brother,
thank you, man.
I just feel that to call in and spend a little time with you.
Yes,
you know
man.
what I mean?
Thank you. I appreciate it much.
But according to them youth and them boys, someday next week you have to give me a little blind.
Yes, man.
You know?
Yes. All right. Thank you very much.
All right.
Thank you.
Yeah, okay, Grace.
Yes, so that is the director of Grenadines Affairs, Mr. Edwin Snag, giving you more or less a snapshot and update as to what's happening in terms of recovering the Southern Grenadines. As I started the discussion with what I heard on Hot 97, this one is a phenomenal amount of work that is being done in this recovery effort. And as you heard the director mention free transportation, I will tell you this. As the director said, this free transportation thing is being abused. And I've received the messages from persons in Southern Grenadines saying maybe we should do something different in identifying persons who are actually from the Southern Grenadines to use this thing. But that has been provided for the people since last year. After the impact of barrels since last year, and the government is footing that cost. You heard Mr. Snag mention his old place being used continuously in the cooking and the distribution of food. That is a fact. To distribute to hundreds of people on a daily basis. I mean, we have another call. Let's take the call. Good morning, caller.
Mr. Ferdinand.
Yes, good morning.
Good morning. Right. I heard Comrade Snag, and I'm in total agreement with him 100%.
one that he should get a slot sometime next week and address this thing. An NDP person was interviewing me on social media, and well, he wanted me to carry me down to a certain line, but I was saying that the Grenadines people would be ungrateful, and to the extent that he was saying that I would call him dog, but I wasn't going to call him dog. I say, let me wait until one election and see how they vote. I know from the one that this whole thing going to turn into a political thing. So I was saying, let the people let the insurance deal with their houses. You get damage and your house you have a mortgage, then let the insurance deal with it. Oh, we are all poor people and everybody will entitle to have what it takes to pay insurance and so on and things. Yes, we understand that, but not everything rests inside the government lap. And now, you see now the government is getting the backlash. I just see this whole thing here that it will become a political, especially now this year, into full gear. That is what you're going to get. But I'm not expecting anything better when you see elections called and the result from them, the Grenadines. Tell you the truth. That's my political view on it.
Okay, then.
So, while the government just are too satisfied with the licks that they are getting, because they try, you sell for Maga dog turn around and bite you. Thanks very much, sir.
All right.
Thanks very much. Yes. Good.
Now, the reason why the reason why I would go down that road with the call is that one, and Director Snug alluded to it, the philosophy of the Unity Labour Party ever since is to help people in need. And you don't help people, or the Unity Labour Party don't help people in the expectation that in return you vote. You don't ask how you vote, who you're voting for, what have you, before you get help. We don't do things like that. I believe people, by and large, have a conscience. And at the end of the day, they will look and see what the government has done for them in this recovery exercise. But at the end of the day, the government isn't assisting in the expectation or anticipation that you either have been a supporter of the Unity Labour Party or that you will vote for them. At the end of the day, people are affected. And whether NDP, ULP, any blood or P, you receive the assistance that is needed. And that is what we continue to do. We expect the opposition, as you said, I expect the opposition to play politics with it. It's what they do. It's not the first time they've done it before. I remember very much so they started that during after the eruptions of La Soufrière and they carry on with the thing. It's what they do. They play politics. And they play that type of politics hoping and expecting that somehow it will galvanize support for them nationally. But again, like I said, people have a conscience. Across the Caribbean, we've seen countries severely impacted by disasters. The Dominica with Maria, Grenada with Ivan now, Petit Martinique, Carriacou with Beryl. You have Barbuda also. But the levels of support we haven't seen elsewhere. Only St. Vincent and the Grenadines. When I tell you it's food, look, I mentioned it yesterday. You have persons who are placed in apartments. There are a few who are in centers. They are provided with food. their homes are being repaired. They are being repaired by contractors who are paid by the government with state material. And there are those who are given material for self-help. There are also those, and in particular now in the Southern Grenadines, who are receiving free transportation to and from on a daily basis. They are also provided with food. And they are provided with appliances. Like I said, Nemo started that distribution last year, and it's ongoing. Material distribution, housing repair and construction. And on top of that, as I mentioned today, and even last month, income support. I mean, the cost to the state is enormous. But at the end of the day, it is because of the philosophy of the Unity Labour Party, the leadership of the government, and wanting to ensure that persons can recover from this. And you have the opposition, despite whatever promise they made, whether with bursary and material assistance, they haven't fulfilled. We've heard persons who said, and the director again alluded to it, they see the Prime Minister more than they see the era rep for Southern Grenadines and even the leader of the opposition. And that is why I know, I could say it here now, nobody more happy than the leader of the opposition that the people of St. Vincent and Grenadines voted the Unity Labour Party for another term in government. They say no easy exercise. At the end of the day, after Beryl, where was the leader of the opposition? In Canada. In Canada. That's where he was. You see any boatload of barrel and container come down to help the people from Canada? Nobody more happy than him that he isn't in that chair to deal with this issue. But all they're doing is trying to play politics with this issue. Politics. Instead of going out there and deliver on the promise of the 100,000 bursary and material assistance. Because as I said last month, they had a whole dinner and gala, $250 per ticket. $250 to go to that leader of the opposition, the president's gala dinner. And while the government is doing all of that, and you'll hear more about it as we have the estimates and the budget, Parliament meeting Thursday this week, and then of course you have on Monday afternoon, the session starting with the Governor General's speech, and then going into budget. There are other things that the government is doing, while at the same time dealing with all these issues pertaining to recovery. Roads, renovating health facilities, building acute care hospital. You have clinics and schools. You heard the director of Grenadines Affairs said he visited the school in Annesville and he saw the bus load of students, again, paid by the state, carrying them to school. What is the opposition doing? Talk, criticize. And that's why, ladies and gentlemen, and again we say it, it's an election year, 2025. These are things that you have to look at when thinking about which party should shape the next 5 years. You know, I woke up this morning and on my mind, I started to sing so much trouble in this world. Because every night before I go to sleep, I read what's happening with the global economy and political affairs. I mean, Justin Trudeau resigned yesterday. All of this week, last week gone, you had Prime Minister Rowley announcing that he will step aside, and the parliamentary caucus for PNM chose Mr. Stuart Young to replace him as Prime Minister. You have in the United States of America, by I think it's the 29th of January, President-elect Trump should start his tenure. You have issues putting into tariff and trade war. I see the news starting to spread this thing about a possible epidemic occurring in China, which may become a pandemic with a new virus on the scene. You have instability in the Middle East. Syria have a new government. I mean, in terms of Europe, Germany is going to choose a next chancellor. Austria government is retarded because they don't have somebody in place. You have Ukraine cut off energy, Russian energy to Europe. It's so much trouble. And we're in the Caribbean. You have it's just putting into crime, climate-related issues that we have to grapple with. So much trouble in this world. And when you have so much trouble in this world and so much uncertainty in this world, and it's just pertaining and affecting small island developing states, you need strong leaders. I kid you not, you need strong leaders. You need a team in government that know how to get things done and understand the issues. And when you look at all these things, and Mr. Snack talk about what Pierre Campbell of blessed memory said. Jomo Thomas told you, and I have the recording, that he said Prime Minister Gonzalez knows how to get things done. In times like this, uncertain, challenging times where so much trouble in this world, you have no choice but to put people who know how to get things done and know how to respond to crises. The government, over many years, has shown that it knows how to deal with these things, from financial crisis to eruption of laissez-faire, and now dealing with the impact of hurricane. Also, of course, you have droughts and other things. Leadership is vital, and you don't want to have people who never had governmental experience to be suddenly learning on the job when these challenges are occurring around you. There's no way. You're not going to, let us be real. You won't want an inexperienced captain to carry you through stormy waters. You won't want that at all. That is a very high risk for you to take. High risk. You want an experienced captain to be able to take you from one destination to the other, because you have a higher chance of survival. Here in St. Vincent and Grenadines, you have an able team in government. You have the Prime Minister. You have the Minister of Finance, who's making sure that we get the necessary monies. I think we have a call coming in. Let's take the call. Good morning, caller.
Good morning, Mr. Ferdinand.
Yes, good morning.
I'm sitting here listening to you very well. Over the period that I'm from Burl, I haven't heard anything about like the other islands beyond Union Island.
You're talking Petit St. Vincent, the resorts?
The resort, yes.
Well, I can actually tell you now, now that you called it, they are actually going ahead with their own reconstruction.
I see.
Yes, they are.
Okay, because I didn't hear any mention about them during the time I've been listening to the broadcast and so on. So I was wondering if they didn't get damaged.
Yes, they did. They did experience.
Okay.
They did experience.
Yeah. Oh, so they're taking care of their own business.
Yes. I actually remember, I think it was last year they were asking for workmen, but they actually start their own construction.
Oh, okay then. Okay then. Thank you very much for your information.
Yes, man, no problem. Blessed love.
Okay.
All right, I think we could take a break now. Yes, we'll take a short commercial break and then resume with the program.
The flavor nice, it's locally made. Affordable price, Lord, up to $3 retail. When you see we line it, when the red and white case, show me what you like. It's cigarette from Empire. Holdings Limited, it's cigarette from Empire. Holdings Limited, with over 60 years experience. Hold the best tobacco, best ingredients. Yeah. This is your boy Luther say, support local, buy your cigarettes from Empire Holdings Limited. 10 cigarettes in a pack for up to $3 retail. Remember, smoking is not for minors.
Yes, sir.
Our industry relies on all of us to play our part. We take pride in showcasing our beautiful island, our craft, our cuisine, and our warm Vincentian hospitality.
Each of us play a crucial role in showcasing our vibrant tourism industry.
We can create spaces where visitors can unwind, connect with nature, and embrace tranquility of our beautiful surroundings.
We need everyone on board to help us create an exceptional experience for our guests.
Join us at our National Tourism Community Consultations as we shape the future of tourism in St. Vincent and the Grenadines.
It's everyone's business, yeah. Live it, love it, embrace it.
That could have been you. An accident that could have been avoided because your tires had almost no grip on the road. Safety is a factor that should never be overlooked when it comes to your car or whatever you drive. SVG Tire Sales and Services in Balls Avenue and in Arnisvale carries a wide selection of quality new tires to fit any car, truck, minibus, or SUV, so you can experience a comfortable and safe commute every time. We are agents for the world's most reliable brands on and off the road, including Kenda Tires, the king of the mountain, Cooper Tires, king of the road and track, Ostone, the king of the outback, and High Fly, the king of the Asian highway. We also carry new tires for light or heavy duty trucks from MRF, High Fly, and Linglong. A reliable set of new tires keep you, your passengers, and your payload always in the safe lane. So when you need quality tires with reliability at 100%, choose SVG Tire Sales and Services in Kingstown, 457-1467, or in Arnisvale, 456-6444. SVG Tire Sales and Services. Performance and reliability proven when the rubber meets the road.
It all started with a penny. For over 85 years, we have invested in our farmers, fishermen, people, and our country. When we were called to serve, we were here. We understand what is valuable to our people and our country. That is why we support all industries, including tourism. We are the bridge towards a brighter future and economic growth. When our people, government, and businesses called upon us, we were here. 85 years later, First National Bank St. Lucia Limited is here for you.
99.9, the heart and soul of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. WEFM is SVG.
So yes, we are back in studio of WEFM. I am your host, Augustine Ferdinand. Remember the number to call, 457-9997, to get interactive with the program. That's 457-9997. I see we have a call coming in. Let's take the call. Greetings, caller. Good morning. Happy New Year.
Same to you, Mr. Ferdinand. Mr. Ferdinand, I heard
on the news last year after the hurricane hit Florida. Now, it hadn't yet reached up to the Carolinas. The second one hit the Carolinas. I don't exactly know what's going on in the Carolinas. But Florida, when it hit Florida, that small hurricane that hit them last year, it was revealed on the air that all the insurance companies in Florida had pulled out of Florida. They say they are not responsible for all that damage by a hurricane. So I am not surprised at all to hear that insurance companies can't meet the expenses either.
Yes, I am aware of that. I read some reports of that. I'm not surprised, by the way. I'm not surprised.
I'm really wondering what is the use of insurance company these days anyhow.
I'm not surprised.
All right,
Okay then, thank you, and I hope you enjoy the season. Yes. So we are talking about, the reason why, with all that is happening in the world, at the end of the day, you need an experienced driver and captain in the seat. You don't want someone who is inexperienced, who don't have one clue how to respond to these challenges, who don't even understand their own role as the opposition. Up to now, they can't call a public accounts committee, much less on the function and operationalization of the government. And as we took the break, and I want to thank the comrade for sending me this. Is a post by, I think he's the MP for Petty Martinique and Carriacou, Tevin Andrews, where in Grenada, and as we're speaking about the repairing of homes and the like in Grenada, and it says here, they have successfully delivered 27 prefab homes, while just 22 homes are currently under construction in Grenada, in Carriacou. Here in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, well, overall, we've already done 2,200 in Ireland in particular is over 120 something. And we have, and like I mentioned earlier, this is why sometimes again when you hear people say certain things, I mentioned earlier that in Grenada they haven't even started distributing income support money. Just November they started the process of determining the categories of persons who should be qualified for income support. They didn't even start process of distribution. We've already been distributing income support, while at the same time repairing homes and feeding people. As a matter of fact, a friend of mine also mentioned that persons in Southern Grenadines, they get it because over there they don't even have free transportation. In Southern Grenadines, persons have free transportation to and from. And I know, and I know, it's being abused. And that's a cost to the government. Sometimes when I hear some people carrying on with some things, there's a saying that sometimes we think the grass on the other side is greener. But the man on the other side saying your grass greener than what they over here. And that is the reality. Because the person tell me people getting it better than they are over there. But yet, there are those who play the politics with this thing. But again, it's not surprising. It's not surprising at all. And that is why I say there's so much trouble in this world. And as the months go by, you expect more outrageous and outlandish claims to be made and outrageous statements to be made. But at the end of the day, you're the one listening here, seeing what is happening around the world and in the Caribbean, and understanding the challenges that we have, but saying that the government continues to be determined not only to help you recover, but also to ensure that St. Vincent and the Grenadines continue to move forward, because this is a government that is working for you. Last year, minimum wage increase, given the 7% increase over a 3-year period, by the ending of this month, persons should expect an increase of 2.5%. Public servants. And these are the things that are happening while we continue to recover. And sometimes you hear all sorts of things, but when you look at what is happening around you, have a better appreciation for what you have. No government is perfect. And I know the Unity Labour Party never promised perfect governance. Perfection do exist on earth. But what you cannot deny is that this government never get tired. You know the song say never get weary yet? It never get weary yet. And it continues to do work. And work hard in your interests. Distribution of scholarships. Rehabilitating roads. Building a hospital. Upgrading polyclinics. You have MRI service and CT scan service and all kind of extra services now at the different. You have extra services at the different polyclinics. You have chemotherapy being done at Georgetown. You have homes being rebuilt. You have further upgrades being done at the Sovereignty Beach Stadium. You have a port project that is coming down to completion by the middle of this year. In North Leeward, they already do the bypass road because, as you know, they have work to do on the highway in particular, from Spring Village going over into Cumberland. You have also in North Leeward, the Bank of St. Vincent, among other services, being offered. You have Farmer Support Company down there now, and the Cannabis Authority have the office down there as well, up there in North Leeward. You have the Coastal Sea Defense Project, very important for Sandy Bay. Millions of dollars again to save that entire community. You have income support being distributed, not just to the farmers and the fishers, but our road farmers as well, and those in honey sector and seaweed production, or sea moss production, sorry. I mean, there's so many things being done by the state. And all you get from the opposition is criticism and pull down. Our bumper tourist season with arrivals to the country. So many things. And instead the opposition chime in to help, you know. And then, you know, that is the funny thing is, the funny thing is that this is in the Grenadines where people for many years, or electors for many years, have been electing persons from the NDP to represent. And they can't even say, let me chime in and help. All they do, you know, you could imagine all they do is criticize the people who are actually doing the helping. That's all they do. But at the end of the day, as is always said, the election is like an exam, and the people become the examiners. And you will determine whether the government will get a pass mark. And I believe, given all the work being done in this term started 2020, you know. From 2020, you had pandemic, eruptions of Laissez Faire, drought, Hurricane Elsa. So many things at once. And while the government dealing with all those issues, the government still has the ability to implement projects and programs and policy to carry the country forward. superb work. But it's now midday here in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. I again want to thank Director Snag for his contribution. Again, remember Thursday's meeting of Parliament. You have the distribution of cards in North Central Windward today. Tomorrow will be North Windward, and that will be at the Biotech Center starting 10. So we have a good thing going. And as we prepare to listen estimates and then, of course, budget next week, which is an important exercise that all citizens should listen to the contributions being made. With that, take care, be blessed, and have a wonderful and blessed afternoon.
And that was your Shakeups program for today with Mr. Augustine Ferdinand. It is now 12 p.m. in St. Vincent and the Grenadines and the Eastern Caribbean. And up next, we have midday news headlines brought to you with the kind compliments of St. Vincent Distillers Limited.